Do you want to set us up here with the title and a couple words about it?
Okay. Oh, Faraway Places. And it's strange, but the West Coast is far away in a way. Most people just think of, when they say Vancouver Island, most people think of the East Coast of the island without knowing it. So anyway, it'll become apparent as we get into it. Okay, I stand on the deck watching the granaries, huge single cylinder shadows, each connected, and the piers, some dark blobs and others partially lit, pass by. It seems that the Nootka is not moving, but the city is backing up. Slowly, steadily, the hollows that are the streets, which score the hills with even rows of light, pull over. In the hollows, scattered pairs of yellow lights and red lights drift. Beyond them, the night mountains of the Coast Range sleep. I watch a thin, scrappy cloud move between the Dipper and me, and then I look at the deck. The galley buckets are squished full of garbage, enough to feed. I think of that. I light a cigarette and watch the edge of the sea foam where it curls into the black water. I could feel the air through my uniform, filtered by cotton, on my arm, more direct, neither cool nor warm. Thinking about your boyfriend, Hal says. I turn around. He's just behind me. His eyes seem black, like an animal's, flat, near the surface, yet deep. I could go way in. And as a matter of fact, do you mind if I spin a yarn with you? Spin a yarn? Gab, he says, talk. That's too much. Spin a yarn. He's putting me on. He almost smiles, but not quite. Sure, I say. He grabs a wood box and puts it on the poop deck, then gets his rag from just inside the fiddly, shakes it out, lays it down. Don't want you to get in cable dressing all over that uniform. Oh, thank you, I say as he sits on the afterpee. Hope you brought some old clothes to put on when you're not working. Just a skirt and shorts, I say. My jeans were filthy and Albert told me to get here right away. Rain gear? No? You can borrow mine. I got extra. I look at him. We are about the same size. Will I need it? You might, if you want to walk. When we're Uculate or Tassus or Zabella's. Faraway places with strange sounding names. Not far, just the West Coast. I look at the Lionsgate Bridge as we start to pass under huge cement thighs. Even with the engine noise, I could hear the traffic whir above. Have one? Hal says as he leans over with the players. Such small limbs compared to Ken's or Lefty's. His body so compact, so quick. He cups the match with a dark hand and I watch the edge of the bridge pillar. Ken, your boyfriend? He asks. We used to be, I say, smiling at him, and his black hair falling over his face. He moves his head up and flips it. He moves his head up and away, flips it. So straight, so firm. We smile at each other for a moment. You haven't smoked long, he remarks. No? How can you tell that? He blows a circle that drifts towards me, just misses my forehead. The way you draw, and the way you hold it, like it doesn't belong. I can't see him sharply because I'm blocking the running light, but I know he's slightly pleased with himself, and I can very much, too much, feel his presence. Oh, what happened to Thor, I say, trying to shift the mood, subject, emphasis, whatever, but also wanting to find out because I'm curious, and I sense he won't talk when other people are around. That's a funny thing. He just went to the head and came out sober, dead sober. Never seen a man who would do it like he does. The Tapman even offered him one on the house. How do you like that? And they barred me. He looks so different when he talks. So they what? Barred me for a month. And Thor said, if you won't serve my buddy, you won't get none of my business till you do. So we went up to Whitey's. Can they do that? Sure. I can't go into the Grand View or the Marble Arch either. Disturbing influence, one of them called me. I never start a fight. I've never done that. Never. I can't quite believe him, but maybe it's so. He certainly didn't start the one I saw on the Empress. Behind him, far to the right, there's a sharp rock, one craggy tree on it, all black, a silhouette against the softness of the night park. I don't see why you should doubt, she says. And I come back to him and the deck, afterthoughts of Pauline Johnson, as red men die, chocolates. I don't like school, and I need some money, and I don't like static situations, offices and such. And I guess I just prefer working with men, or with some men, or around them, to working entirely with women or inside. You're going to get hooked, he says. What? If you don't hit the beach and stay there when we get back to port, you're going to get hooked. I don't see why, I say. You haven't been around long enough. I say to myself, you're 22 years old and you haven't been around. No, you haven't. You have a bit and more than most girls, but you certainly haven't been around long enough, he says. You seen the men on this boat? Oh, most of the crew. They can't stick to a shore job, none of them. They all tried to find it sometime or other. Several times, you ask. Ask Lefty how many he's had. They just can't do it the 8 to 5 race or even stick to the bush for 2 months. You know how long I lasted last time? No, 3 days. Well, not even 3 days. I told them to shove it. I can't imagine hell in the city delivering mail or repairing refrigerators or digging ditches or driving cab. Certainly not selling, certainly not in a store, certainly not in an office. What did you do? Steeplejacking, he says, but the foreman thought he could tell me what to do. That's it. He doesn't like to be told. In fact, he won't be told. That's what you're called, Ken shouts from above, the deck above. We look up at him. 6'2", 6'5", well portioned, so much larger than Hal, who's around 5'6". He goes back to the wheelhouse. Then neither of us speaks for a moment. We watch the lights of the North Shore. So many high rises now. Such curls, huge curls about the sea edge. Feel like talking about it, he asks. No, not yet, that is, I say. I'll relieve him now. You don't have to do that. Just waiting anyway, he says as he gets up. That's what gets you about boat life. You work, you sleep, you wait, you eat. That's all there's to it. He smiles and he slips up the ladder. I try to pin up the back of my hair. It won't stay put. I should get it. Damn it, I don't know. Cut. If I don't want to see him. Yes, Hi, says Ken from the ladder. Just have to take a leak. He looks so boyish. Overgrown crew cut, some tear halfway up his shirt. He could afford floppy thongs. I don't remember him looking sloppy or it's funny what 6 months can do, but I just saw him less than a month ago. It's not the time. It's other men who make them. I don't want to think about it. I hope I don't. Jamie said he dropped chemistry because he was playing around too much, playing a mop next to my eye, wet, through the porthole from the fiddly, twirling. I get up, move to the side, stand next to the railing and watch without saying anything. The mop moves to the side, quickly, back to the other side, then up and down, more slowly, retreating, a small circle, then in. Less than a moment later, Ken jumps onto the bit, puts his arms up and sways. You cooing bastard, same old Ken. He springs onto the peak, then steps onto the deck edge next to me. I move away a few inches. I don't know what. He shouldn't be this close. It isn't. You're looking good, he says. Well, so are you. Nice of hell to let you off early like that. I gotta think of something to say so he doesn't take over. Not about us. We don't know what happened. We tried it before and it just gets nowhere. Huge circles and loops that seldom, if ever, coincide. He's a good head, Ken says. But you know why he did it, don't you? What do you mean? Come off it, Jan. You know as well as I do. I guess so, I say. At least I know what you're insinuating. What have you been doing lately? That is, what are you getting into now? Not safe. Last time I saw him, it was the brain and how it works. He knows or should know I don't mean women. And he usually moves around in one enthusiasm for 2 or 3 months before he talks about the mind and ideas. He has a chemical reactions in response to light. I don't ask him why he dropped Cam. He might not tell me anyway. It obviously wasn't going where he was at the moment. Hypnosis, neurosurgery. His father's a neurosurgeon. Tantras. He talks in huge looping phrases I can scarcely follow. I listen to a phrase or two and take off and come back in a minute or so and get into and onto another tangent, mostly about myself. Nothing intellectual going on for me right now. Not quite, but other people are the center on which I depend too much. Less than 5 hours a day is all the body. I slept so much before we did break up, 16 hours sometimes, and then I couldn't take the fact that we had. But it was so senseless as it was. But he always did have something that, always someone to listening. He doesn't even notice I'm not. Maybe that's part of what went wrong. He never listens. A habit. Habits are such traps. Me listening, he talking, me taking in the beginning anyway. The light from the lighthouse at Point Atkinson turns. We've seen it together from so many city, mountain, water angles at so many past, now present times. Oh, I say, that's interesting. And he continues, so careless the way he uses the language. And his observations about people are so ambivalence, the word he breaks in. What? I say, sorry, I was thinking about something else. I just hate her sometimes. Then we argue and fight, and she makes me see things, but I don't admit it right away. Well, I certainly didn't do that. She's so logical. She went around with philosopher before she met me, and you're going to undo it. She's younger. She doesn't reach the same level as you do. Well, maybe that's all. Maybe that's all you need, I say. Someone you can show things to, and I want to get out of this. Ken leans his head against one of the pipe posts that's between our deck and the upper one. His thick, long neck deliberately scratches, loosely caresses the white metal. You know, you shouldn't tell me about your girlfriend, I say. I don't want to hear about her. He stops rubbing, looks hurt, like he doesn't understand. A little boy puzzled. He can't be as insensitive or unfeeling as. Can't we at least be friends, he asks. You idiot, it won't work. Okay, let's try it, I say. But I better turn in now because I gotta get up at 6. I try to smile, but want a hand with the garbage, he asks, as he snatches a small cardboard box from the heap next to him, chucks it over. Am I supposed to do that too? Sure, as soon as she's out of harbor. See Point Atkinson and Point Grey? I look at the lighthouse on the North Shore and then at the towers of the university. Well-spaced, large buildings with just a few lights on. There are the boundaries, he says. I don't really believe it's my job, but we do it anyway. Sling and throw and drop, huge and small and medium sized bags, boxes, crates into the dark folds, rolls of the sea. No sounds as they enter, because the engine noises block them off. Only the 3 buckets left. I try one, but it's too heavy for me to lift. He heaves another. Then he grabs mine, then the other. And I smile as he puts the last one down, and he smiles too. It's kind of fun. Not the doing we used to do, but fun to be doing together again. It's strange to be reading this at this time and see how many how critical I am of my own patterns of speech at times. So like I'm quite aware that I'm not listening.
Yeah.
So here I'm talking about not listening and being stuck there, but I'm not doing I mean it seems maybe I caught something there in I think male and female where people aren't there, but they're physically present but not there. But
Yeah.
But I wasn't aiming at that. I don't think that was my aim in writing it. It just simply is there, and I'm so startled by it because I say, oh my God, have you ever got a sense of your bad habits? And then it continued throughout your life to some degree, some of them, and there's some, and there are words that I pause over, like it goes about the high rise, the lights on the North Shore. So many high rises now, and then I mean now, of course, there's like decades, 5 decades later, there's many more. But and then I've got a word that goes. It says in the text, huge cuffs about the sea edge, and I looked it up in the original version, and it's supposed to be huge curls. But even that, you don't get it. It's just it's the high rises that are curling about the sea. And the high rises I was seeing at that point are close to the ocean. But it's like I don't know why I put that detail in. I guess just to locate where they were. I don't know if you sort of caught it, the Pauline Johnson and chocolates thing.
Yes.
Looking at, and then I thought that, but for a person who's not local, they wouldn't understand that Stanley Park and that particular place, this little the bereft island that is for Pauline Johnson. So like it sort of takes me to, and as Red Man Dies was one of her poems. So it's all those little thoughts together.
Yeah, like a little chain of thoughts.
Yeah, that sort of bounce off. And the puzzlement I have about this thing is that I know that it's my job to empty the garbage, the galley garbage. But so when I'm saying, is this my job? Because there's all these boxes, a huge number of boxes. And it's startling to think like this would, when the trip this is based on, the trips this is based on, because it was a number of trips, and I just sort of squished them into the first, some of the parts into the first stories into as if they occurred on the first time I met, was to think that in 1962 and 63 that's where it was considered totally all right, just throw everything into the ocean and you're encouraged to do it. I mean everybody on the ship would know that's where it goes. But I'm sort of, as a person who wasn't used to being on the coastal freighter, it would never occurred to me that they would just be dumping this into.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising actually to read it in this day and age.
And I was like, at that time, I felt it was just horrible. Like, what am I doing? Well, somebody has to do it anyway. But here we are, like this, all the racking, whatever that is, and it's also, considered garbage.
Yeah.
So much so, unlike now, where we really, at least in Vancouver, there's a great effort to have much the recycling done as possible.
Just to circle back a little bit to the listening or not listening.
Yeah.
I love that passage too, because to be quite honest, I would, like, based on the description of Ken, I would much rather be with Jen's interior monologue than with whatever he's prattling on about, probably. But I think that's a kind of a common experience. And I think, you know, maybe there is something to the way that that's kind of gendered, in that at least she's aware that she's not listening.
Yes.
Whereas on his part, it seems to be,
He's unaware that she's not, you know.
yeah.
And that's the pattern that,
Oh,
that,
yeah,
that
the
occurs.
patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about a friend of mine, Laura Broadbent, here in Montreal, and she's got a line in her book that says, think about the best person you know. I bet they're a really good listener. Think about the worst person you know. I bet that they're not a very good listener and they don't ask you any questions.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, I bet Ken doesn't ask any questions. He doesn't seem to.
Yeah. He asked the questions of, like, he did take the poetry the person that Ken is based on. It did take the 63 poetry conference, and he was always there with his hand up and asking questions and proposing things, you know.
Right. But I think probably not of Jen. If I'm reading into that character correctly, he doesn't seem like he asks Jen very much. At least not in that dialogue that takes place between the two of them.
That's right. Yeah.
And also, I wanted to say that, like, I just love that opening paragraph. That's just the senses, the sights, the sounds, the feeling of the cool or the ocean breeze, the cotton uniform, and that really just so transported me back to my days on Vancouver Island, living in Campbell River with my parents. Like, that really is so evocative, and I can see it perfectly in my mind's eye and smell it perfectly in my mind's nose.
Oh, good.
Yeah. It's beautiful. So I also must ask too, you didn't get hooked then, like Hal says on Boat Life?
I actually, you know, I sailed as a relief worker on 5 different boats, and so I had worked for a whole year, from a whole academic year. Like, starting, I had finished a course in August and got my BA. And I shipped out in August. So I got my BA in September, but I passed the course, of course, and it wasn't until January or February, up in Isabella, somebody left a newspaper, and I read that they're going to open community colleges in 1965. And I thought, 65 at 63. Well, if I wanted to get an MA, I could probably get a job teaching, and at a community college when they're opening them. Well, they opened one, but that was Vancouver's City College, and I was hired for it. So I actually got, you know, and then they opened a number, but none of the other ones existed at that point. And Vancouver City College became Vancouver Community College, and then when it built its own campus, because it was at where the VGH Hospital is now, the Jimmy Pattison Centers, where Vancouver City College was. Well, the year they moved to Langara was 69 in September, and so but I had actually so anyway, just a connection there that and it became Langara College.
Yeah.
And then,
So teaching was more to your sensibilities than Boat Life, I suppose, or?
Well, I looked at that's a good question. I had looked at it because my second journey as a worker was as the cook herself. And and I realized that I could, and another time I was a stewardess once, and I said, never again. Cannot make a good bed. I do not like so anyway, so I was able to make a fairly good living with quite a few times off, meaning runs off. Like it's just as you do go to the union hall and either there's an opening or there's not, and save some money, not a lot, but enough to go to graduate school during the year by being willing to sail on any boat that had an opening. And that was fun too, because I got to go to Haida Gwaii, and I certainly went up the intercoastal route a number of times, because I played on the names of the boats from the Northern, the Skeena, the Haida, and all Prince behind them all, and we were on the Tassus Prince. So I was on. Yeah, so I really quite enjoyed it, but I thought, you like it now and you probably will like it, but probably by the time you're 29, you probably wouldn't want to, that would be enough,
Yeah.
But that all came, I mean, if that little newspaper hadn't been there, like it was like whenever I read Isabella's, I thought, you could do that. It was sort of just that thing. And then, as it turns out, the first course that was available was the Vancouver Poetry Conference, because you could take it either the undergraduate or as a graduate, because
Perfect.
you need to get people on it. When I knew that was happening, I was a great entrance to it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful serendipity there.
Felt very lucky. Yeah.
Yeah.